Greetings. This is Justin Allen with the Elite Nurse Practitioner. Welcome to the Elite Nurse Practitioner Show, podcast dedicated to nurse practitioner entrepreneurism and achieving financial freedom, where I talk directly with nurse practitioners who need help. Listen up, our market is saturated. Jobs can be scarce. We are underpaid. We are undervalued. We are taken advantage of by the sharks within the healthcare system, and frankly, screw that. I'm sick of it, and it's time for a change. And listen, I'm here to help make that happen. We are powerful. We can forge a path where we are in control of our career and ultimately our financial and personal well-being. You do not need to submit to healthcare administrators and your doctor overlords. You do not have to take a measly salary. You do not have to work 50 to 60 hours a week. There is a different way, and I'm here to show you that path. This podcast is raw and unfiltered. I have not talked to the nurse practitioners in this podcast prior to the call outside of an email exchange to schedule the episode. What you're about to listen to is a consultation session between a nurse practitioner and myself. It is real, it is unscripted, it is unplanned, and I have no idea what we're going to talk about. Anything and everything can happen during our conversation. The nurse practitioners in these episodes are struggling with an issue in their professional or financial life, and they have reached out to me for help. My goal is to help the nurse practitioner with actionable advice that will enhance and improve their professional, business, and financial life. My other goal is to hopefully help my nurse practitioner sisters and brothers build a more productive, powerful, and free life. So I hope the content and information within these podcast episodes does just that. All right, onto the episode. Hello, everyone. Today, we will be talking to Mindy. Mindy is a family nurse practitioner practicing in Kansas. She has the option of practicing in Missouri as well, as she is on the border. Currently, she works in a family medicine clinic full time, but she started a side hustle a couple months ago. She is providing women's health and HRT services in her side practice. She's concerned that she might have spent too much getting the practice open, and she's seeing very little in return. She's needing assistance with marketing and just getting some patients in the door. Hey, Mindy, how are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for hopping on this call. I really appreciate that. Yes, just bring up the speed of where you're at. How long have you been a nurse practitioner for? What you've been doing, and those sorts of things.
I was a nurse since 2008, mainly working in the ER and the ICU. I've been a nurse practitioner since 2020 was when I graduated. I had a little bit of trouble getting a job, but ended up, getting a job in October and have been working at the same place ever since. So it is family medicine, and I see largely like migrant population as a federally qualified health center. So there's just kind of different rules for that. So largely underserved area, but yeah, that's what I've been doing, and that's where I'm at.
Okay. And so you started a little side hustle just like a couple months ago, right?
Yes, I did. So I want to, like you said, work with women and women's health. Mainly, I'm looking for like the flexibility to be my own boss. I've always kind of wanted to do this. I never knew exactly what it would look like. But when I found your page and started following you and seeing kind of all these success stories, I read your book after that. And then just kind of for, I don't know, probably a year or so, I just kind of watched what other people did. And then, I read the book that you wrote, and I decided that it was time to, make it happen. So I went for it.
Yeah, good for you. You got started really early in your nurse practitioner career, huh?
I did, but I feel like my many years as a nurse, particularly working in the ER, pretty busy ER I worked in. But when I was new, they didn't have any residents, so it was like 2 physicians, even though it was a very busy like urban ER. And so they really relied on the nurses a lot to do a lot of things that I don't think that they do now. So I felt pretty confident and comfortable stepping into the role. I think because I was a nurse for 12 years almost before I did it.
So you were in an ER where they practice cowboy medicine?
Kind of. I mean, if you're working nights on weekends, that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah. You kind of just do a little bit of everything. Yeah, I've worked some places like that before. It's interesting.
Right.
All right. So then with this full-time job that you're doing, so you're doing that full-time. Is that like a Monday through Friday thing?
I do. So I work Monday and Tuesday for 10-hour shifts. So Monday and Tuesday, and then Thursday and Friday. So I have Wednesdays off and weekends.
Okay. Gotcha. And are you making a pretty decent salary there? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I can tell you about that. I'm not. So
okay.
I would say Kansas City is pretty saturated with nurse practitioners, but I would say the salary there is particularly low because it is there's lots of reasons. I've actually asked for a raise and I got a raise. So that was great, but it's still, I would say, under the average of what a nurse practitioner would make, even in Kansas City.
Okay. So where are you at financially then in terms of just overall expenses in your life and that sort of thing? I mean, are you fairly secure right now to, venture in the side hustle and take a risk? I mean, where are you at?
Well, I guess I would say like yes/no. Like they keep putting off my loan, like having to pay these loans. So that makes things so much more comfortable because I don't have that large bill. But supposedly in May they're going to start making me pay those again. So I mean, part of the reason I work where I work, part of the reason is I do get some financial like assistance for my loans for working at this federally qualified health center. So that's helpful. But still taking when that monthly bill comes again, that will make things look differently financially, I think.
Yeah. Are you going to be living paycheck to paycheck? Are you going to be stressed?
No, I wouldn't say paycheck to paycheck. I mean, it does make me feel a little stressed because I have committed these magazines. So I have these two magazine ads coming out. Well, they came out the first time this month that I think will really get my name out there. But, if I had to pay those out of my own pocket for 6 months and didn't make any money, that would be stressful.
Well, yeah, for sure. Okay. So, I mean, you're in a fair position then to start a business. Are you married?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm assuming your husband has an income coming in too. So you guys are
Yeah.
okay there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I'd just like to understand kind of just where you're at. So then you're planning on maintaining this job still and then just doing this side hustle. So walk me through how you started a couple months ago and kind of where you're at today.
Okay. So when I got started, it seemed extremely important to me to have a website. So I got that built and it's really nice. I like it. But I paid altogether, I think like a little less than $5,000 for all of it. So that was too much. I went into this thinking I'm going to do exactly what you say in your book, and I'm going to but like somewhere in the weeds, I got caught up, in that. So somehow that just felt so important and worth it. I mean, it wasn't 5,000 like straight up, but it was like 3,600, and then after that there were some updates, and that was 1,000, and it was too much. So looking back, I mean, I do love it. I think it's a nice site. It has a good feel, but I don't know that it was worth that. Besides that, though, I do have to have a collaborator. Luckily, I have a high school friend whose dad, he has a business. He's a doctor anyway, so he's my collaborator. And so I only pay $250 a month for that, which is fairly cheap because I think most people it's like $750, something like that. So even though it's an expense, I think I got a good deal there. But because I'll do telehealth to start with, like my expenses are low because I mean I have like the Ring RX app. I have a Zoom login that I pay for because when I teach yoga, I was going to do it online, but I've like failed to get people to come to that as well. So I'm rethinking that, and then those are most of my expenses. So besides like these magazine ads that I've taken out now, those are my biggest expenses.
So do you have a physical location?
No.
Okay. And so you're doing this predominantly telemed or trying to anyways?
For now. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And are you trying to do this in your local area or are you advertising it statewide?
Well, that is a good question. So I mean, I've been focusing on locally. Obviously, like when you are on Facebook and Google, that can extend farther. But I've not like specifically said because, like for example, in Missouri, my sister lives in Missouri in a different town that's like 2 hours away. So I haven't like started to like specifically say, okay, I'm going to focus on Springfield and I'm gonna work on that or anything like that. Like mainly, I've been staying local.
Yeah. And so, it sounds like a very low expense business, really. I mean, I guess in just the back of my mind, I'm just calculating that out real quick. You're spending maybe $1,000 a month to keep this thing just kind of operating.
So with it's like 1,500 with the magazine ads, but like the magazine ads together, like not quite 1,200. So
yeah, okay, so it's gonna be pretty affordable. Okay, so I mean, you're following the model perfectly. Low expense business, you're still working, that sort of thing. Now, you started this a couple months ago. How many patients have you seen up at this point?
Well, so I've seen none for hormones. Yeah. So the plan initially was to start with the COVID testing and try to generate some income. And that was in like, what I say, October. So, like literally like this week and last week, I feel like is when a lot of people are like, oh, I really need a COVID test and I can't get one because people are doing home tests or whatever. And so I'm trying to capitalize on that. But I've seen like, I would say, less than 10 people have I swabbed and probably 6 of them are people I know. So most of them aren't like, it wasn't like, oh, I saw your ad or anything like that. It was just like, I mean, most of the people are they're a friend or family. And so, which is fine, which is good. So I've had like, I mean, my total amount of money I've made has been, I haven't even calculated it, but like, not a lot.
Not much. Yeah. So it sounds like you're having a real issue of just having people realize you even exist.
I think I do think that is it. I mean, some people, I have had a handful of calls for COVID tests and I think they didn't like the price. But when I like do the calculation, I'm like, sometimes it takes me 2 hours to drive to someone's house. Like the swabbing takes less than, 15 minutes, but then I have to drive it to the lab and drive home. And like, so it's kind of hard I'm actually considering doing some like bulk COVID testing. I'm just trying to figure out like, where can I set it up at? And then like make the price a little lower, but hopefully get like more people through just to kind of get some cash flow. But I thought of that today. So still working on.
Sure. Well, what is it that you want to do? I mean, do you want to do COVID testing, or would you prefer to stick with the women's HRT and that kind of thing?
No, I want to do the women's HRT. I literally just thought, well, this could be some income for me. But no, I mean, in some ways I'm kind of like, is this even worth it? Maybe I should just drop it. But at the same time, that's the only even small amount of revenue I've been able to make is by doing some COVID tests.
I mean, you got to make money somehow, right? It's difficult to grow or scale a business without some income to reinvest back into the business. I mean, I've probably spent hundreds of thousands of dollars marketing all of my businesses, and it's just money that comes to the business and then reinvesting it back into the business. You reinvest money back into a telemedicine practice really through your marketing efforts.
Right.
And so if you don't have any money coming in to reinvest, it's kind of hard to just grow the business in general. So, I mean, I understand wanting to do the COVID testing, this concierge mobile COVID testing to make some money. I totally get that. I think that it's something that you might want to consider doing if you can figure out a way to get some of the market share for it. But how are you advertising? Let's start with the COVID real quick, as it's something that's pretty simple to do. What were you doing for marketing? How are you trying to get the word out so people know you even exist, that, so you can do COVID tests?
I was doing Facebook ads and Google ads. So what I would do, like I set the price pretty low, like $25 a day or whatever it is, because I was kind of testing it just to be like, okay, is this going to work or not? But I mean, thinking back, maybe I should have really upped that ante more so that I struggled on Facebook because I couldn't say COVID, because I would like make a post and promote it and they would deny it because it said COVID in it. And so that was something that really kind of felt like it was a big barrier, because I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? And so now I say, like, do you need a PCR test? And they generally let that one through.
So this is the thing you have to remember. There's really two types of ads for this kind of thing. There's going to be brand awareness. You're just getting the word out that you exist.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's going to be the ad where someone's actively looking for a COVID test and you pop up. Those are the ads you need to focus on. Brand awareness for COVID testing is something that honestly I think is probably a waste of time, because people don't care about COVID testing. They don't care about, what clinic is offering it. Oh, okay, I see this ad. Okay, I'm going to write this down so I'll know that this place exists when I get COVID, or if I get COVID. It's not going to happen, right? Yeah. They're going to be looking for you when they need you. And so you need to figure out a way to where you come up when they're looking for you. And so think about it. You are someone who has body aches, chills, cough, whatever, and you go to Google or you talk on your phone, COVID testing near me, or let's say that you're traveling out of country. Like I'm getting ready to fly out to St. Lucia in a couple of days, and I had to get a PCR test. It was a pain in the ass, but I have to fly, right? And so I go to Google and type in rapid PCR test next to me. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like you have to figure out a way to where that you come up for that. And so they find you and they call you, right?
Yeah.
And so you'll do that with a Google search ad. You could do that, and simply just getting on Google Maps basically for this.
Yeah. I mean, I have a Google My Business.
Does it say COVID testing on it?
I'll have to double check. I think it does. But the problem is too, like, to me, I'm thinking that maybe part of the problem is it's kind of a weird mix, right? So it's like, maybe it's just like too much at once. It's confusing. Like people can't figure it out. Like, I don't know if that's part of the problem.
What? Is like women's HRT and COVID.
Right. And I do yoga. So I don't know if it's just
that doesn't make any sense. That's like going to a restaurant and they have Coke and they have scotch, and then they also serve pizza and then, I don't know, lobster tails. You're like, what the hell kind of restaurant is this?
Right.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Right. So I think that you need to be thinking that way here. I think that if you're going to do COVID testing, it needs to be a separate service, like a separate business. You can just do a DBA underneath your LLC if you want. You don't have to form another LLC and do all that. Okay. Just a DBA underneath your LLC. So you don't have to worry about different bank accounts and all that kind of stuff. I mean, COVID testing is practically zero liability. I wouldn't really worry about separating it out. It doesn't really matter. So what I would suggest that you do is just do a DBA, something Kansas City, whatever, wherever you are, COVID testing, something that's just so obvious what you do.
Yeah.
And that way you'll pop up on the Google Maps fairly easily when anyone talks on their phone, COVID testing near me. I mean, you should pop up, especially if you're paying Google, if you have some Google search ads in place, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But if they click on your website and it's like yoga and HRT, and people are like, what the hell is this? Right. They're going to be confused. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that if you want to go the COVID testing route, I really feel like you need to just operate under a different name, and you probably need to have a different website. I know you already spent $5,000 on your website. It's probably the last thing you want to do.
Right.
But I think it would just make sense. And this is the thing about COVID testing website. It can be one page and be the simplest website ever. It does not need to be complicated.
Well, and then maybe it's something I could do actually. You know what I mean? Like if it, because it could be so simple.
Yeah, you could create this on GoDaddy or something yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, this is like a one-page thing. Like in my mind right now, I'm thinking like on my medical cannabis website. My medical cannabis website's the simplest website ever. It's a low value kind of thing. People just want to get a cannabis card. So it's like 2 pages. They click on it, boom, it's just straight to the point, right? My men's health clinic, on the other hand, has like 8 pages in it, looks really, really good. It's a higher value, higher cost kind of thing, right? So it's just a COVID testing website. GoDaddy, use their site builder and just build something out real quick. It does not need to be fancy. It just needs something that just says where you're at, what you do, how much you charge, how to schedule an appointment. Like just super simple.
Okay.
You could literally get that made on GoDaddy or Wix or whatever. You could get that up and running in a couple hours. It should not take you that long.
Okay. Yeah.
Make sure the domain name though, says COVID in it, where you're at or something like that. You know what I mean? Just something very, very simple and brief.
Okay.
There should be no question what it is that you do here.
Right.
And if you provide, PCR tests as well, 48-hour turnaround, whatever, I mean, you're also going to have that travel market. It's a big market. People need these tests.
Yeah.
All right. I hope everyone's enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick break to thank everyone listening and also give a big thank you to all of my social media followers and email subscribers. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to our email list at www.elitenp.com and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Email subscribers will receive updates on new weekly podcast episodes, multiple weekly articles we publish, new courses, and everything else related to helping you succeed. Remember, all elite nurse practitioner courses are designed to help you build a niche practice, increase your financial strength, and to break free from the rat race. If I can break free and then other countless nurse practitioners can break free, then so can you. Additionally, please share this podcast with your other nurse practitioner sisters and brothers out there. The more NPs that venture out on their own, the stronger our profession will become. Now, let's get back to the episode. You can do something called geo-targeting. It's a type of Google ad that targets like a certain specific little area on the map. And so you could do this like close to the airport or places where people might buy travel stuff, those sorts of things, and they might see it on their phone. I mean, there's so many different things you can do here to target different, these different markets.
Okay.
That's what I would do if I was going to do the COVID thing. But it's seasonal. I don't know the sustainability of it. I mean, I think it'll be around for quite a while. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, it could be here to stay long term, but it's kind of seasonal in nature though. It's going to slow down significantly in the summertime. I mean, it's basically turning into kind of a flu season sort of thing. So
yeah.
So just see it for what it is. Okay. It's revenue that's seasonal in nature.
And I think, I mean, honestly, I'm going to really consider this like making a website, like to separate it out so it's not confusing, but also like considering just not doing it, or you know what I mean, like it's easy to do, but I'm also going to really consider this like mass testing. Like if I can find an area where somebody will let me like set up in cars, I'll just literally test people in their cars, and then I can make it so much cheaper, because if I'm going to test 100 people for $20 a test, like, that works out for me, over like 3 hours or something. But I don't know if the market here just doesn't tolerate, because like I had set my price at $100 and then now it's at 75. But even still, people are like, do you use insurance? And I'm like, well, not exactly. And so, like I said, I've had a handful of people ask me, but then they're like, well, never mind. And so who knows if it's the price? I assume it is, but it could be something else. Maybe they found a different test. Who knows?
How much is your time worth? I mean, you're driving out to someone's house. Like this is work,
Yeah. I mean, it's very convenient. If I don't know if people see it that way, but I'm like, it's extremely convenient that you don't have to leave your house, or, you know what I mean? You don't have to sit in the doctor's office. You don't have to leave your house. I email your results. So again, it may not be the price. No one said that. No one's been like, oh my God, that's so expensive. But like, I guess I just kind of think maybe that's it, since I haven't had more people say yes. But yeah, and they probably don't realize it. Literally, like, I mean, most of the time it takes me at least an hour and a half, if not 2 hours, depending on where the person lives. So just from driving.
Well, how many phone calls have you had for it? I mean, what's your conversion rate here of people calling and turning into an actual paying patient?
Well, more recently, I've probably had, I'm thinking like, 3 or 4, maybe 5 that either like direct messaged me on Facebook or that I've talked to that nobody has said yes. Like I said, the majority of the people that I've swabbed have been, and they've paid, but they're my friends and family, which is great. Like I'm not, complaining about that. It's just like, obviously I'm looking to like serve the community and not just people I know. So yeah, I would say probably recently, I think 4 or 5 different people I've talked to that ended up not continuing, like not buying a test.
Well, just make sure it's painfully obvious on your website. You don't want a bunch of people just calling you and wasting your time. And this is going to be a numbers game too. I mean, a lot of people don't have no problem spending $75 for you to drive to their house and do a test. I mean, hell, I'd pay $100 for that. I'd pay
Right.
$150 for that if I needed it,
Right.
So
I know
there's a
convenience
market for it.
Right.
In terms of like testing large events or setting up shop somewhere, people can just do a drive through, that kind of thing. I mean, that's definitely a possibility. You could certainly do that, but you have to just get in with someone.
Yeah.
Have you considered contacting large event places like, wedding venues and concerts and things like that?
No, but so like one of the magazine ads that I have out, they're like, next month is our bridal issue. And I was like, great, because that's not usually my go-to person for like, hormones is not brides generally. And so I was like, cool. And I thought, what can I do? And so I made that clear. So the ad will change for February. Like, hey, if you need, testing prior to your wedding, let me know. And then, and we could work that out. So, but I should maybe just make a list of like, well, that's not true. I did contact 3 bars early on when we got started because they were requiring tests before people came in for shows and things. I mean, I just emailed them, but I could be more like I could
Yeah, I
find
think you need to be a little bit more aggressive here.
like call you
Yeah.
instead of email.
Or just show up and ask them to talk to
Oh,
the manager. Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes it just takes some good old fashioned hustle and just getting out there.
Yeah.
All it takes you is to secure one large place and you're rocking and rolling. There's some nurse practitioners that I've seen on the Facebook group who like they secured a contract with like a concert hall or whatever. And like they are so busy. They've hired staff. Like all it takes is 1 or 2 yeses and you're going to be busier than you can handle. So
Right.
yeah, I think it's just going to be just you sitting down and just calling some places up or just showing up, that kind of thing.
Okay. I'm sure that this is what you'd say about a business is it's just going to constantly be somewhat uncomfortable. Like I came to the realization a few weeks ago. I was like, cause I've worried a lot about this. And I just realized I just have to do whatever it takes. And so like, when you're like, just show up, I'm like, that sounds awful. And then but I'm telling myself like, I just have to do literally whatever it takes. And if that means being uncomfortable and awkwardly having a door slammed in my face or not, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to have to do that. And I just think maybe that's part of business. Would you agree? Like you literally just have to like continually put yourself out there and not, it is uncomfortable.
It's super uncomfortable. I mean, that's just part of it. You're doing something that is not really that fun to do. You have the chance of rejection. You get more no's than you get yeses. I mean, this is just part of sales and business. It just is what it is. Like, do you think that I enjoyed going to all the dispensaries in my area, dropping off cards, talking to managers? And I think I enjoyed doing that. Or when I had my Suboxone practice, making appointments with probation offices, parole offices, addiction counselors, like it sucked. It was not fun, but I did get a couple yeses. And to this day, those same people that told me yes are still yeses. So you just showing up to the right place can turn into a 6-figure yes.
Yeah.
So it's worth it.
That's good to remember.
You could go and hustle and pick up shifts in the ER, work yourself to death. How many shifts does it take for you to generate $100,000?
A lot.
A lot, right. Now, all it takes is 1 yes in business to generate more than $100,000.
Right.
And it took you 15 minutes. The difference between someone who never succeeds and who doesn't is the person who succeeds took a risk and said, F it, and went and did it. They took the action, right? And that's just what you have to do. You have to just get out there. You have to just get over that fear. And the only way to really get over that fear is just to get out there and just do it. You'll just develop a thick skin. It's just part of it. But yeah, no, I think the COVID thing would be a good little side hustle for you, and it will help generate some income. So, I say do it. Now, in terms of the women's health, so this is telemedicine. You have a really, really nice website. And so what have you been doing for marketing here for the women's health?
Initially, I was going to split it all up, kind of like you just talked about. But then the guy that was making my website, he kind of talked me into not doing that. And I was like, I was on the fence about it and I was like, yeah, okay. And I guess my thought was too, like, if somebody's there to get a COVID test, it's kind of free advertising if they're like, well, what else is here? But yet, like we've already talked about that maybe is just more confusing actually than helpful. And so I would say the exact same, the Google ads, the Facebook ads, and then I have these magazine ads out. So I've been trying to like not tell my job that I did this because kind of technically it says maybe I shouldn't, although I think I could fight that, like, because I'm not really in competition with my job with this. But anyway, I just disclose it all to them. So then I started putting it on my own personal Facebook. I hadn't done that yet. I'd made a Facebook page for my business, but I hadn't like announced it on my personal Facebook or anything. And I put it on LinkedIn recently, and that's generated some interest, at least. Like some people that I didn't even expect have reached out and said, "Oh, hey, I use these kind of hormones. Do you do that?" So that has been helpful. But in general, yeah, I haven't gotten any calls for hormones specifically, really.
How much have you spent marketing on it?
So that is like part of the monthly is $1,300 a month, or I guess more like $1,200 a month for the magazine ads. And then before that, it was just kind of when I did the Facebook ads, and when I did the Facebook ads and Google things, it was like $25 a day or something is what I would put on the limit. Because, Facebook lets you like promote a post. So that's what I would do.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, Facebook post promotions work pretty well. I mean, I do it all the time. I think it works great. But you have to make sure that the post has, enough value in it. Again, I think this is going to be something that you need to be easily found, because a lot of times people are going to be looking for you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to make sure that you are easily found. You said you had a Google business listing, so that's good. The name of that Google business listing needs to be obvious: women's health and HRT, something just straight to the point. And then when they land on your website, it needs to be straight to the point. This is what you know. This is what you're good at. This is what you do. The yoga thing, I mean, how much money can you possibly make doing video yoga?
I mean, if you get a following and people pay you $10 a class and you have like 75 people on Zoom for, an hour, that's pretty good. But it takes time, I think, obviously, for people to follow you. And I mean, I think it's a good adjunct thing for women on HRT. I think it's something that a lot of people are interested in. I'm obviously interested in. I think it's helpful for, stress and anxiety and blah, blah, blah. But
sure. So I think that as an adjunctive service, that's fine. You can maybe throw that on your page if you want, but I don't think I would spend a terrible amount of time on that unless you're willing to put the work into building an audience and a following. I mean, that's kind of what I do with the Elite NP. I mean, you have to build a following. You have to provide a lot of free content value, videos. I mean, in a way, it's almost this completely different business.
No, and I kind of have figured that out because I mean, I agree. Like my experience is true with what you're saying there, because I do have a space on my website for a blog. And so I'm going to hopefully use that for like, what do you call it, SEO or something, like, so that
correct,
people will find me more.
Right.
And I know very little about that, but enough to try. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, like free content. And then I was thinking about, making videos, like free yoga videos and things like that. It doesn't cost me that much, just time to do it. So it's something I'm looking into doing, but I get what you mean, that there's a lot to that.
That's a lot. Yeah. I don't know if I would put a lot of effort into that right now. I don't think that for the amount of time you have to put into that and for the return, you have the power of prescribing medications and diagnosing and testing. That's going to be a higher return on your investment than developing some sort of yoga class, following online, utilize the license you got.
Okay.
Yeah. That's going to be, you're just going to have a higher return on investment there. No question about it. So, I mean, like I say, if you want to have it on there, maybe just have it as a side thing for clients. Just leave it at that. I don't put much effort in that right now. Not right now. Maybe later.
Yeah.
So in terms of the women's HRT, I think that should be your focus. Is this something that you're going to do strictly telemed? You're going to do creams, oral route, injections, that sort of stuff?
Probably not injections yet. But yeah, like the one person that talked to me about it, she wanted pellets. And I was like, I'm not there yet. I was like, give me some time, maybe in the future. But yeah, right now, like creams and oral stuff for the time being.
The whole pellet thing, I'm not a big fan of pellets in men, but in women, it seems to work really, really well. I don't know. I don't know if you shoot yourself in the foot not offering it.
Yeah. And then, I mean, the other thing is too, I've thought, because I guess like I could say, hey, I'm going to come to your house to shoot you up with these pellets since I don't have a spot. And then that might be, I mean, I could probably charge more for that. But yeah, that was something I have to really look into. I mean, I understand it's fairly easy to do, or kind of what I know about it's really easy. Yeah. To place.
There's nothing to it. You can start an IV, you can put a pellet in. It's not difficult. I'm sure some people listening to me aren't going to like that, but I don't see it being difficult. I thought it was extremely easy to learn. So, I mean, you certainly could do that if you want. I'm kind of starting to lean towards more hybrid models where you have a physical location and you do telemed. So that might be something to consider, as you move forward and start generating some more money and that kind of stuff and build this up. But with the women's HRT, again, I think you need to be easily found. And then you also need to do some brand awareness kind of advertising as well. And I think that it'd be a good idea for you to, instead of marketing to the entire state, you're going to have to figure out some various little target areas in Kansas. And so I want you to be thinking here, where are services needed? Where's the demand? Where's the
Okay.
scarcity of these services? Big towns like Kansas City or wherever, it might be saturated. So there might be a lot of these services available. But in more rural areas where there might not be as many services, it might be more worthwhile to advertise in those places.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you could go to Google Maps and look for towns throughout Kansas that have, 5 to 10,000 people in it. And when you create the ads, even on Facebook, Google, whatever, you can geo-target down to, specific cities. So you create this ad, instead of it just going to the entire state, you could really focus in on just, 5 or 6 cities or mid-sized towns and experiment there. Try it for 2 weeks at a time. And you might find that there's a really niche market that no one else is tapping into. I mean, there's plenty of gold mines throughout this country where there are services that need delivered to those places. Like when you read some of these success stories of some of these nurse practitioners who strike gold, they start a little niche wellness practice, whatever it may be. And you read that, within 6 to 12 months, they went from $0 to $100,000 a month. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That is not typical. That
Yeah.
is a lot of luck. And that's being at the right place at the right time. So for you with a telemedicine practice, I feel like that you need to find that right place at the right time. And I think by doing that, you're going to have to just really get down to targeting certain specific areas versus just targeting, Kansas, for example. So
Okay.
no one can tell you where or what to do here. You have to just get in there and just kind of experiment with it.
Yeah.
So that's what I would urge you to do. That's what I would challenge you to do, is maybe create 4 to 6 different campaigns, maybe with a similar message, same pictures, whatever it may be, but just target different areas and then kind of just see what the world tells you.
Okay.
This is the thing about telemedicine, is that you are a very small fish in an ocean here. It's hard for people to even find you. It's hard for people to know that you even exist. And so a lot of successful telemedicine practices provide a lot of content, and that will increase your search engine optimization, basically your SEO ratings. So people will just
Mm-hmm.
find you. They don't necessarily find you for the hormones, but they find you for the content. So someone might type in, postmenopausal symptoms or treating hot flashes or low libido or whatever. You create a
Uh-huh.
video on YouTube or a blog post, an article, treating low libido at 50 years old, for example, or whatever it may be. They find
Mm-hmm.
that article, they read it, and they're like, oh, wow, she's speaking to me. She understands, what I'm going through. And oh, wow, she can help me. She's accepting patients. So they find
Yeah.
you that way too.
Yeah. YouTube videos is something, I mean, obviously I was thinking about that with yoga, but it's something that I'm like looking into how to make it not look super homemade, but, somewhat professional. But yeah, I think that is a good way. And I think education is something I just need to, like
Absolutely.
you said, the free content with all that
Yeah.
will get me somewhere. So
Unless you have a really, really large marketing budget, okay, you're going to have to just develop content and put it out there. And it takes a little bit of time. I mean, I know one nurse practitioner, he has videos on testosterone and stuff on TikTok, and he kills it.
yeah, I've seen that.
Like, he's not even promoting it, but people
Mhm.
land on it and they like the message and they want to see him for an appointment. He's so busy, he can't handle it. So that's what I mean. You need to create content like that. And again,
Yeah.
right place, the right time. And there's some luck involved too.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I need to figure out a way to just do more videos, because I think even on, like, I don't know if TikTok would help me, but I think reels, like Instagram reels or Facebook stories or whatever, I think, people like that better than, reading something or just seeing a picture. So I
Yeah,
need to
for
work
sure.
on that.
And remember this, one piece of content can turn into 10 different pieces of content. You create
Mhm.
one video, a 3-minute video, 4-minute video about testosterone in, postmenopause or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
You create one 5-minute video about that. You can then turn that into multiple different pieces of content. You have a 5-minute video on YouTube. You have a 30-second reel on Instagram. You have a
Oh,
30-second thing on TikTok. You can, with that one piece of content, you would just edit and splice it into whatever fits, the platform. Does that make sense?
yes.
Yeah. So you would be shooting yourself in the foot by just having it on Instagram Reels, for example. Like, you need
Right.
to throw that out over multiple different platforms. You can literally turn one piece of content into dozens of different pieces of content.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And then you'll find which one works great. Like, for him, it was TikTok. Out of all
Yeah.
things, TikTok works. And he didn't know that was going to happen. He just did it. And well, it worked,
Right. Trial and error.
Right.
Okay.
No one can predict this stuff. No one can. You just don't know until you do it.
Yep.
So I think that you might need to do that. And then, like I said, maybe some geo-targeting kind of ads to specific areas there and see what happens. And then as you progress in the future, maybe like a brick and mortar location where, maybe you do a few services that complement it too, like maybe some IV infusion or pellets or, whatever it may
Yeah.
be, maybe some aesthetics, that sort of stuff.
I would like to get a space. I was just trying to wait until I had some. I mean, I'd be happy just to like pay my bills with what I make because like Kansas City is not that expensive. Like I saw some spaces for like $650 a month or something.
It's
It's an
nothing.
affordable place, but I'm not willing to take that on right now. But yeah, if I could make enough to pay my bills, then I would consider that, especially if it would help me because yeah, people might drive by or whatever. But yeah, I was just thinking. I actually know a doctor who lives in a smaller town in Kansas. He was a resident when I was a nurse in the hospital, and so I might just reach out to him and say, hey, would you consider referring me if you have anybody? Because most primary cares don't want to deal with this or don't know how to. Like they don't know how to very well deal with these kind of symptoms or don't always recognize postmenopause for women. So I think maybe I'll reach out to him too because it's like, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours from Kansas City. So that might be one of the places I target.
Sure, absolutely. And if you could find a location for $650, $700 a month, that's nothing. And especially if it's on a road and you have a sign. I mean, think about that as
Yeah.
just part of your marketing budget, but you also have a location.
Right.
So don't limit yourself here. I mean, if you feel like that you have a good location, a good opportunity in an unsaturated area, it could prove to be somewhat lucrative for you.
Okay.
So yeah, don't limit yourself. That's why I think
Mhm.
hybrid models work well because there's still a very, very large market for people who want to be seen in person, procedures. There's just some people that just like to shake your hand and that's never
Right.
going to go away. That'll always be around. So if you have a
Yeah.
hybrid model of both telemed and in person, you really get the best of both worlds. My men's health practice is like that. It's a hybrid.
Hmm.
So if I just did one or the other, I would estimate that my revenue would be probably 30 to 40% lower than what it is.
Oh, wow.
Keep that in mind too. You have any other questions or anything else you want to talk about?
Let's see. So mainly I'm doing like my pricing. I feel like it's like undercutting the people that are around me, but I've set it up to be like the membership pricing. Do you think that there's benefit in like splitting that up? Like, I mean, I like the membership idea, but maybe some people don't want that. And so like splitting it up saying like, okay, well, that's the membership option. If you don't want the membership option, then these are the prices for kind of like the a la carte testing or, appointments testing, that kind of thing.
I think when you start giving people more options, it just confuses them.
Okay.
I think it just needs to be just straight to the point, either just a membership or price per service.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's my opinion about it. I think that when you start having multiple different options, people just get confused and, sometimes less is more. So I think I would just stick with either one. I like membership. I like subscription programs. Patients like it. It's convenient. The business owners like it because it's recurrent revenue. It's great. Now, what I do at my men's health practice is that, yeah, you can either be on a monthly subscription. It just bills out every Wednesday, basically, just depending on when you sign up, basically monthly, but, we bill out every Wednesday. The patient gets billed monthly, but we bill out, weekly for each whenever they sign up kind of a thing. So you can do that. But I also have a bulk purchasing option. So if they want to purchase 2, 3, 6 months of services in advance, I give them a discount.
Okay.
And so I get a lot of guys that do that. If they buy a year's worth in advance, I give them 20% off. And a lot of guys do that. They're like, I'll just pay for 12 months right now. And they'll drop $1,500. Boom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would be nice.
Yeah. So I think, if you're going to do the subscription model, membership model, have an option for buying stuff in bulk as well.
Okay.
Pay in advance and get a discount kind of a thing. And just include it all together. Visits, medications, supplies,
Right.
everything. Everything should be
Right.
included. All in one
Included.
cost. Yeah.
That's why I have the membership. And like there's some months if I had to do labs and they got like their treatment, I would barely make any money, but that would happen like once a year. And then, the
Right.
other months that I would be making like more, I forget, maybe like $20 to $40 depending on what I prescribed a month. So
Yeah. My men's health clinic, the first month is basically a wash for me. I make very little that first month because it's an hour long visit and the medication and like everything like that. Like I make very little, but then after that, it's mostly profit.
I got you. Okay. Because that's
Yeah.
kind of how mine is too. And like I said, I think I'm undercutting the people that I've seen, like the places around here that I've seen do it. So I was hoping that would be helpful. So, but when I did the math, I was like, ooh, I barely make any money on this month or this month, but it's the other ones that add up.
Exactly. It's a long game.
Okay.
You just gotta be patient. It takes
Right.
a few months. Gotta be patient with this. Okay. Like I said, very, very few people strike gold and, make $100,000 in 3 months. Very, very few people. That is not the norm. Any other questions or anything?
Nope, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think that if you just focus in your advertising efforts, start providing some more content, get real specific with different locations, and get out there and just hustle, I think that you could probably turn this around. I think it's just going to take you a little time to kind of find it.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm like kind of blowing in the wind out here and it's a real roller coaster, So it's nice to, feel like I'm kind of headed on the right track.
I think you are. I think you just need to toy around with it just a little bit more. That's all. And I think you'll find it. I think it's just going to take a little time.
Cool.
Well, hey, listen, I appreciate you hopping on this call. I hope this helped. Maybe we could do a follow-up call in 3 to 6 months or something, kind of see where you're at.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Awesome. All right, well, hey, listen, I appreciate your time very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Hope everyone enjoyed that episode with Mindy. Mindy has a little bit of work to do trying to focus in on her niche and the service she's going to provide. I think that you need to walk away from this understanding that sometimes it's best to separate out services and to remain focused. Doing COVID testing, doing yoga, and doing women's health HRT within the same business probably isn't the best model to do. Sometimes it's better to separate these things out. It will decrease patient confusion and it'll make your marketing efforts much, much easier. If she's trying to market COVID testing on a women's HRT website, it's going to get lost. It's going to get lost in the shuffle. People are going to have a very difficult time finding that, and it's going to confuse patients. And the same thing with, someone looking for women's HRT and sees a bunch of COVID testing and stuff, it could confuse the patient. And so when you separate out services with separate websites, it allows your marketing efforts to be much more efficient, because if someone's looking for COVID testing and you have COVID testing in your name and a website dedicated to COVID testing, they'll find you much easier. And the same thing with women's HRT, okay? So make sure you try to focus in your efforts as much as possible. You can operate under the same business, you can operate under the same LLC, the same bank account, and all of that stuff, okay? You're just gonna be operating under a DBA essentially. So keep this in mind as you progress down the journey of being an entrepreneur. The more niched and the more focused you can be, the better. Hope everyone enjoyed that episode. Talk to you guys next time. Thanks. Bye. Thank you for listening to the show. Quick legal disclaimer. The content of this podcast is meant for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be used as legal, financial, medical, regulatory, or practice-specific advice. For information pertaining to your specific legal, financial, medical, or practice-specific needs, please be sure to consult with your lawyer, CPA, medical director, and/or your state's practice laws and the most up-to-date clinical guidelines. As always, do your due diligence when it comes to any information found online and in podcasts. The content in this podcast is copyrighted by Galaxy Medical Southwest 2022 and cannot be duplicated, rebroadcasted, or reproduced without our written permission.